Okay, thank you very much. So this is part of the CWI research semester program. They've organized a lot of these, so there's like half a year something is in the focus. Now it's control and reinforcement learning, and there have been 2 workshops before, I think, on this topic. When I was like a PhD student and later a postdoc, and I went to conferences, they were often opened by people in suits who seemed to have no idea what the workshop was about and told all kinds of nice things about the place you were at. And I always wondered, like, why is that necessary? And now I'm that guy. Um, but what can you do? But I will tell you one thing. So the suit is only because right after Emily's talk, I have to go to Leiden for a PhD defense. And there we have suits in the Netherlands. And I am not a dean or anything like that. I do work a lot on science still and machine learning and statistics. It's just not really reinforcement learning, but it's still very important. So that's why that you know where I'm coming from. And then, of course, as people in suits do, I will tell you something about the history of this great place where you now have your workshop. But I think it is interesting. So we are, of course, proud of something. So CWI was started in 1946, right after World War II. And one of the first highlights was that we built the first Dutch computer. It was in 1952. And if you have time, you can go to the library where you see some further nice pictures about it. And like apparently somebody put a note on top of it, handwritten, "Don't count on it." It never, apparently, except for the first day, it never produced any reliable output. And then this was the place where the shortest path algorithm was invented and proved that it worked by Edsger Dijkstra, who later won the Turing Award. It was in 1959. So Google Maps exists because of CWI, perhaps. And it was the first place, it's another highlight, where continental Europe was connected to the internet. So here you see the first internet message that was received instantly in Europe. Very dry. This is to let you know that we have changed the status of this network to connected. And then Python was designed by a PhD student here, who actually never got his PhD. He then went on to do Python rather than a PhD. I want to highlight one more person as my own thesis supervisor, and that of Wouter Kolen, who's here in the audience, because I think it's of general interest, and he will now, I'm worried that he will get forgotten. So he's very well known in theoretical computer science. He wrote the book on Kolmogorov complexity, which is like 20,000 citations. And he's also reputedly, he says so, and it says several others as well, that he came up with the acronym COLD for at that time it was the Conference on Computational Learning Theory, sometimes like 1985 or something. He was present at the first conference. And when I started as a PhD student here, that was in 1994, he actually, in the same year, he hired 2 people, a PhD student and a postdoc, on what were considered extremely esoteric and weird subjects, namely quantum computing and machine learning theory. And so he was truly, I mean, he's still alive. He is truly a visionary, right? If you did this in 1994. And so now I'm in all these committees where we have to think strategically about the future, like what will be the great things in the future and so on. But I can tell you that in 1994, nobody had any idea how big this would be. He just did it. He just had this idea. And quantum computing is that's a very big thing here. We have one of the biggest quantum computing theory groups in the world. So I did my PhD here. I left, I came back. There was a few other PhD in machine learning. Some of them are in the room here. In 2016, we got our own CWI machine learning group, which is headed now by Sander Boté, who himself works on biologically plausible neural networks. But in the meantime, of course, basically half of the groups of CWI do something with machine learning. We have very strong people in operations research now, and then machine learning and scientific computing has done a lot here. So like everywhere, it's big here. And there's a final thing I want to put in memory. So the first COLD conference that I was really involved in was actually, that was held in Amsterdam, was in 2001. There was later another one in 2017, I think, organized by Wouter and Tim. And at that time, there were two PhD students, Sham Kakade and John Langford. So they were not famous back then. And I sat next to them at the conference dinner. I'll never forget that because we talked about reinforcement learning theory. And Sham told me, I'm trying to work on it, but this whole reinforcement learning stuff, it's just not working anyway. So I don't know where this is going. And I shouldn't have listened to them. Actually, they stayed in it and published then some papers which have now thousands of citations, I think. But at that point, I kind of decided reinforcement learning is not the direction I'm going to go in. And that's like one of my few regrets in machine learning life. And to end with, I would like to say that, okay, in these days where everything is practical and so on, I'm very happy that we have a theory workshop here. And we have to remember that like nowadays, things go going so fast and practice is everywhere. But in these early days, we would have been nowhere without theory. And with that, I would like to hand over to Debra Bota, and I hope you have a great workshop. Thank you.